We've been having a lot of conversations about this behind the scenes in like the Discord and on Twitter, but it really does feel as if like the censorshitters have completely shit the bed with Stellar Blade. Like we're at the point now where it feels like mainstream audiences are becoming aware of how ridiculous they are and just how cringe they are and just how you shouldn't take them seriously about anything. Because this whole Stellar Blade discourse is just absurd, right? The whole way this entire thing was propped up and how it was shilled and the backlash towards it, like to me, it seems like it was a setup by Sony and like the Korean government, right, to try and get like Westerners to care about Korean game development because of course it's not relevant, it's not that high quality, but a lot of people are shilling for it right now because Korea is allowing its developers to be more to have like really sexualized female character designs. And that's really all it comes down to. Like when you see like the raging golden eagles of the world like shill for like Nikkei and Korean game devs, like that's why, right? When they shill for gacha games, that's why. Because the only things keeping those games relevant, and I do mean the only thing, is the attractive female character designs that are being shilled, sold directly to incel whales, right? So these games aren't higher quality, they aren't fun to play, they're not innovative, they're not engaging. They are entirely reliant on Coomers.
This is a reminder.
Ah,
Do
I'm
cardio.
about to do it, Alexa. Come on. They are Alexa, stop. Uh, they are entirely reliant on Coomers to promote their brand, right? Because when you take that away, they have nothing, right? Stellar Blade, I think, is a really good example of this because how many people have come out saying that they're not going to support the game because of like minor costume changes? If you were actually a fan of the costume, you wouldn't have noticed an actual fan of the character or the gameplay. You wouldn't have noticed that kind of thing being toned down, right? How many people did you see complain about Bayonetta 3 being toned down, right? If anything, I think Bayonetta 3 toning down its costumes was an improvement, right? Because it gives you the ability to take the character more seriously, and it kind of emphasizes the themes of the game about how important it is to start a family and how there's more to life than like being a sex object, right? Like I do think that's the thing about Nikkei and like Stellar Blade is that like Coomers really don't see women as anything other than like cum dumpsters. And the reason why incels are so angry at them is because like they will never live the Chad lifestyle they think they're owed. So they'll just like play these games, Nikkei or whatever, and just pretend that like, oh man, she's doing it for me. Like completely ignoring that because it's a video game product that like millions of guys all over the world are like doing the exact same thing. It's like how pathetic can you get? Really? You'll complain about Chad like and it's like harem of like attractive 10 out of 10 females, but like you'll like pretend as if like jacking off to Nikkei or like Lolicon or like complaining about DL site like being MasterCard dumping them is some like epidemic on their people. Like again, these people are pathetic. And they try to mask it behind like trying to endlessly talk about these weird horror stories about like divorce rapes and women doing terrible things, but the reality is they're just terrible people fundamentally, right? Like they themselves are just broken people and kind of refuse to acknowledge it. Like everyone else is the problem. It's not me. It's not it can't be me because look at all these other what all these other people are doing. But no, it's just them being unbelievably pathetic and petty and just ridiculous. And I do think with the Stellar Blade discourse, I hope is going to be the beginning of the end of like the censorshitter thing, right? So because for me, like I've been dealing with these people since like what, like 2015 or so, 2016, where they started claiming that like Nintendo was censoring a lot of their niche Japanese games, when in reality that wasn't really the case at all. And now, with the release of games like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Like they'll try to tell you some nonsense about how the game was censored in development because of the localizers, but like these days, Nintendo products release worldwide, globally, like day and date with the Japanese versions, right? They are working on these costumes in development, right? Like you were complaining about censorship of a product that never existed to begin with, right? That's how ridiculous this discourse has gotten, right? Where they're straight up making things up to complain about when it comes to Nintendo specifically, right? And now they're getting more and more ridiculous. Like it's weird to me to see how many of these people will like shill for Korea and shill for Korean game devs, like and shill for these mobile games, these mobile gacha games, like ignoring the predatory monetization practices, ignoring the fact that the games will be censored once they have a large enough audience, like ignoring the elephant in the room and that like it can all be taken away from them at any time. Like it's just pathetic. Oh yeah, ignoring the quality of the games too, right? Like it's just downright sad to see this pattern play out over and over and over again, right? Like these people worship PlayStation. They want PlayStation to be the base, like hardcore, like uncensored version of video games, while evil Nintendo is supposed to be the censorship happy one, right? Even now, you keep seeing that. Like we keep seeing this like in the news cycle. Like every time, like Sony censors a game and Nintendo doesn't, like everybody acts shocked like every single time like oh Nintendo didn't censor this like they're supposed to be child friendly like no like it's just it's just downright absurd, right? It's just one of those things that just feels like the double standard is so ingrained in gamer culture. I'm really wondering at what point it's going to die off because it's really weird seeing people continue to complain about censorship for Nintendo consoles while still like lining up over and over and over again to get fucked by like Japan and Korea, right? Getting fucked by Capcom, Square Enix, like Shift Up, right? Like even now you're seeing these people pretend as if like oh Power World is the based equivalent uncensored version of Pokemon, but completely unaware that like eventually they're gonna do something that you don't like, right? Like that they have no appreciation for Nintendo at all, right? Like it's just it is really sad and pathetic for sure. I'm very curious, like, how long this can continue, right? Because by the looks of it, like, the people who do this are in their 40s and have been around since, like, the PlayStation days, right? So, like, they really have this ingrained mindset that, like, Nintendo censors games and Sony doesn't. But the reality is that was never true, right? Lots of things were getting cut, like even in the early PlayStation days, right? Final Fantasy VII, the Honey Bee Inn, right? They were going to put a lot more lewd things into that section, but they were cut. So is that censorship? Should you boycott Final Fantasy VII because they removed some content from the final game? No, right? That was absurd. That would be absurd. And I do think that like as gamers, we really need to start like addressing this issue. Like I'm very tired of people trying to tell you that you can't support really good video games because of censorship while enabling very poorly made games, bad video games because they have more fetishized character art and sexualized story elements, right? This needs to stop.